Hi, my name's Neil, and a good friend of mine that I've known for many years now. First met him in Russia on a business trip there. Has been trying to persuade me that maybe some people might be interested to hear about my business travels, possibly because they took me to some different countries that maybe not such popular tourist spots. Russia, the obvious one that I started with, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan, China, becoming a bit more of a popular tourist spot now. But um, yeah, I've been lucky to go to some different places which, yeah, have been unusual, bit different, and have led me to some meeting some interesting people. Not least of which time or who I mentioned. Um, so here goes. Join me on a journey to some different places and some little adventures, and we'll see if anyone gives a damn. Um, for me, it all started back in the 90s, um, around the mid 90s, when I was working for a company in the UK that made retail shop displays for big international brands. Um, One brand in particular that led me to traveling around the place was Pepsi. Pepsi were branching out into all sorts of different countries outside of their homeland in the States, and uh, we tried to go along with them. So yeah, they were the first reason I had to travel to Eastern Europe at a time when business travel for me was still very much a novelty. I was in my late 20s, and uh, yeah, I love traveling for holiday, but I hadn't really done much for any work. I think I'd been on one business trip to Spain, um, to Barcelona, which was great. But other than that, a flight up to Scotland was about as big as it got. So for me, yeah, going to these having the opportunity to go to different places was fantastic, and yeah, and something I look back on with a bit of nostalgia now is I don't really travel for business anymore, and uh, increasingly, with climate change and everything that brings with it, feel like I'm going to have to live my travels vicariously and nostalgically by looking back rather than going on trips again, certainly long flights and things again. So yeah, I do look back on those days with fond memories. And as I say, that UK company that I was working for, they got some interest from Pepsi in Eastern Europe, and yeah, the first really big trip was for me was going out to Russia. My boss had been out there. He'd been out there and met the client in Moscow um, uh, shortly after I joined the company, and he, he didn't have a great time. He didn't love it. It was grey. It was cold. No one spoke the language. It was difficult, inconvenient. The people looked grey and miserable. And apart from a little trip to the Bolshoi Ballet, he didn't really come away with it with any fond feelings for the place. So he was more than happy for me to take over and pick up the bag on that one, and which turned to be great because it turned out for me because the opportunity there was good, and it was the start of many years of doing business out in Russia. But yeah, that first trip out to Moscow was an interesting one. You couldn't take any foreign currency in. Dollars seemed to be the most respected currency. So you made sure that you had crisp, clean new dollar banknotes. The MD had used the metro in Moscow, so he had one of these plastic tokens that they used to use that was effectively a metro ticket. So he gave me that. I get one or two of those, I think, to take with me. You know, you change money when you get there. It was my first time of having to get a visa, a paper visa with my passport photos stapled into it, and lots of text in the Russian Cyrillic alphabet so that I didn't understand what it said. um, and you fly in. We flew into Sheremetyevo airport to the terminal that had been, I think it was built for the 1980 Olympics. Was it 1980 in Moscow? And yeah, I'm sure it was an icon of design at the time, but by the time I was coming into it, it looked dark, forbidding. It was I noticed how quiet it was. And you came down from the gates into the arrivals hall and the passport border control, and it was very quiet, and everyone stood shuffling in lines, and it takes quite a long time to get through the passport control, and you don't know what they're saying when they're talking to you, just nodding and shrugging your shoulders. And eventually get through that. And I don't remember how I got to the hotel. I think they must have had a shuttle bus that met me at the airport, took me to the hotel. But by the time they got to the hotel, the currency exchange office at the hotel was closed. So and I had to leave for my first meeting with Pepsi before it opened again in the morning. So I was setting off from the hotel still with no local currency, knowing that although they liked dollars, no one would actually take payment in dollars. And I think that the hotel shuttle bus took me into town. Someone told me that the sign to look out for the exchanges, and I still couldn't find one that was open. But it dropped me near the centre, near not far from Red Square. And I had a tourist map from the hotel, and I'd marked on it roughly where I thought the Pepsi office was. I knew the name of the street. I I tried asking for it, saying the name as closely as I could to how it seemed to me to be, and nobody seemed to understand. I knew it was near the US Embassy. And somehow, eventually, I found it. Yeah, and once I got there, then people could look after me. I had a great meeting, and then they could show me to point me in the direction of an exchange office, show me how to get back to the hotel, and it kind of all picked up from there. But yeah, it was an intimidating first encounter, and I wasn't sure that I was going to like the place. And really, what changed for me in going to Russia was meeting Timur, the guy that's persuaded me to do this, and that was a memorable meeting. I was staying in the Palace Hotel just off Tverskaya Street, which is the big main street that goes all the way out towards the airport and all the way into to Red Square and the Kremlin. Nice hotel. Pepsi had a special rate there, so they helped me book into that place. And we had decided as a business that we probably needed boots on the ground in Russia if we were going to take this forward and make it work. And we were trying to figure out all the complications of import and customs controls and what have you, and decided we'd actually maybe try doing some manufacturing locally. And our production director found a guy in Russia, spoke good English, had an engineering background, figured he might be a good fit for us. And I was due to meet him this morning at the hotel, at the Palace Hotel, over breakfast. And when he walked in, I thought it was going to be a disaster, because he turned in his jeans and his lumberjack shirt, unshaven, looking pretty filthy, and turned out he'd been fishing. It was summertime, I think, and he'd been out fishing. It stays light, for huge amounts of time there in the summer. He'd been out fishing, and then his car had broken down on the way, so he hadn't had time to go home and get washed and cleaned up. And I think he was, with hindsight, he was pretty nervous at the time, thinking he'd blown it. And I was thinking, what's this guy doing? He's so unprofessional. And now, whatever it is, 26 years on, he's still a great friend, and we had some great times and did some good business over there in Russia. So if you'd like to hear more about that, then I'll make another one of these and tell you a little bit more about it. And if not, well, it was fun. Bye for now.